Thank you very much for joining us for this second free practice session here at the Lausitzring. We're about 130 kilometres away from Berlin, pretty close to the Czech and the Polish borders here to the east of Germany. This vast arena is the home to the third weekend of DTM 2026 using, as if you watched DTM before, you'll be familiar with the tri-oval banking, this tri-oval that was first built back in the year 2000 initially, as was Rockingham in the UK, to host IndyCar racing in Europe. DTM first came here that very year back in 2000, but monsoon rain meant that the race never happened. The great Bernd Schneider had got his car on pole position. So it's 2001 where we had the first DTM race here in the end. Peter Dunbreck taking the victory in a Mercedes. And it's since become a regular fixture on the calendar. We get 45 minutes of free practice underway in just 3 minutes' time. Last chance for the drivers and the teams to set the cars ready to get their minds focused ahead of tomorrow morning's qualifying session. And here at the track, extremely hot conditions. We arrived at the circuit around about 10 o'clock this morning, got out of our lovely air-conditioned car and were hit by a wall of heat as we got out of the car. Even at 10 o'clock this morning, it was pushing up towards the high 20 degrees Celsius mark, and now it's got to over 30 degrees. The track temperature is even hotter, and it could be even warmer tomorrow as well. So a real test for the drivers. I spoke to one of them in between the two free practice sessions, and he said one of the air temperatures on the rear of his car was reading in the 70s. So in the car, in the cockpit, in the front of the car, it's going to be about 65 degrees. So a huge test of physical strength, but also mental strength and mental concentration as these drivers try and stay focused ahead of what is a big, big weekend in the championship. So the scene is set. After the first free practice session this morning, a few cars went quick late on, put in a dummy qualifying tight run. And it was Arjun Maini who went quickest in the HRT Ford Racing Mustang, the Indian driver posting a 1 minute 20.986, the only driver to break the 121 mark. Still about 0.4 of a second away from last year's equivalent free practice times, but it is hugely warmer. It was about 16 degrees this time last year. It wasn't the greatest weekend weather-wise, but now it's double that. So understandable, I guess, that the tyres are going to struggle a bit in these conditions. But he was only 0.06 of a second quicker than Lucas Sauer, who had just about a minute before the session ended set the fastest time. And Lugi got his first ever win in DTM at this circuit 10 years ago now, back in 2016. Our runner-up in this last championship, 2025, runner-up in the 2022 championship as well. And currently second in this year's championship. He was second quickest in the Landgraf Mercedes with a 120.992. So he too just dipped beneath the 121s. And then also close to the top of the times, Mirko Bortolotti. Much improvement for the TGI team, Grasser, Lamborghini, Temerarios, and the second weekend of the season at Zandvoort compared to how they went at Red Bull Ring for the season opener. And they've continued the form here in free practice. They were all in the top 10, the four Lamborghinis. Mirko Bortolotti third, 121.023. 37 thousandths of a second away from the fastest time of the session. Finn Wiebelhaus in the other Mustang for HRT. Did a 121.052. It was only 66 thousandths of a second off the fastest time. And then we had Luca Engstler in the Lamborghini Temerario. Qualified a brilliant third in one of the races at Zandvoort last time out. The German driver for Red Bull Team Abt, 121.054, only 68 thousandths of a second away from the fastest time, and only 76 thousandths of a second behind the fastest time. But sixth was Thomas Preining in the Porsche 911 for Manthey, the 2023 champion. And in fact, up until the very end of the session, less than a second covered every single driver in the field. In the end, it was just a fraction over 1 second between all 21 cars. It's going to be mighty tight, this. The cars then head out onto the track, these GT3 machines, all with around about 600 brake horsepower. A fantastic roar, a combination of turbocharged cars, of normally aspirated cars, hugely powerful equipment onto the track. And there you can see Maro Engel is our championship leader after the first 2 weekends of the season with a win, another podium, and top 6 finishes in every of the races so far. He's got 67 points. Lucas Sauer is 6 behind, and Marco Wittmann, who's had to do things the hard way this year, having not qualified particularly well. He's done a lot of overtaking in the races. He's gained 28 positions so far across 4 races from grid positions, and he's third in the championship with 52 points ahead of Preining, Cairoli, and the very impressive Ben Durr, who got his first ever podium in the DTM last time out, finishing in second place on Sunday at Zandvoort. Don't forget the driver who's at the top of the next board, though. Kelvin van der Linde, 16th in the championship after the first weekend. Had a retirement on Saturday, but had a pole and a win on Sunday at Zandvoort, and he's elevated himself up to 7th place in the championship. So the cars head out onto this 3.5 kilometre long lap, anti-clockwise here around the Lausitzring. A real mix of slow corners, S-bend sections, and high-speed stuff out there, and what's a pretty abrasive circuit. It's the Lausitzring, everybody. It's the final free practice session of the day. My name's Chris Hartley, and alongside me in the box, it's good afternoon to Brian Oliver.
Good afternoon, Chris. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, this is quite an important session. It's the last free practice before we head into qualifying and the races, and I can't think of a time when the drivers would have been running the new Pirello P0 DHG slick tyre in these kinds of temperatures. So quite a lot of data to be gathered here. It was hot this morning. I would suggest it's even hotter now. Certainly the test session that we had here a couple of weeks ago, in which Finn Wiebelhaus was the quickest ahead of a Mustang 1-2. In fact, it's very different conditions to that. We know the Mustang is quick round here on account of the fact that Finn Wiebelhaus was quickest a couple of weeks ago and Arjun Maini the quickest this morning. But these tyres in this heat, I think it's going to be a bit of a test, a lot of discovering to go on, and of course the last opportunity to get that set up for quali, which will be the next event for DTM, although it'll be in what should be potentially cooler temperatures tomorrow morning, albeit briefly.
Yeah, cooler being less roasting hot, but yes, slightly less at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, maybe. There is a risk of 1 or 2 thunderstorms across the weekend as well, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. So that could mix things up as well, because it is exceptionally humid here, especially for Brits like us walking around in the city, just not used to it. So Finn Wiebelhaus, Arjun Maini, fastest 2 in that pre-season or pre-race test here 2 weeks ago. 121.4 and a 121.5, but it was slippy. It was wet at the start of the test day. It dried up, but it was never particularly grippy. It was never particularly warm. Thomas Preining was 3rd on that test. Maro Engel, Jules Gounon and Mirko Bortolotti all made it into the top 6, but the fastest time was some 1.6 slower, 6 seconds slower than the qualifying lap record set last year by Luigi Auis at this equivalent session last year. It was the eventual champion of 2025, Arjun Gounon, who set the fastest time in that free practice session. We got practice pit stops is a feature as well of these free practice sessions. A chance for the teams to rehearse what's going to be oh so important here at the Lausitzring, as it is at every DTM race, particularly, Brian, on a Sunday when we have now these 2 mandatory pit stops, something that was introduced last year, which has been a brilliant feature, I think, a brilliant addition to the regulations in DTM. With these 2 pit stop windows, the teams have a real chance to make a difference to the outcome of the driver, don't they?
And they really do. Yes, the double the number of pit stops on a Sunday, and it really has made the Sunday races something quite spectacular. At Zandvoort, the Saturday race was good, but the Sunday race was very spectacular indeed. And as you say, the teams can make all the difference. You think of how much effort it takes to open up a 1 second gap out on track. Well, that can be gone in the blink of an eye with a sticking wheel nut or a crew member that's not quite on the marks, or any number of factors. And we've seen that. We've seen it several times in the last few years where races are won or lost in the pits. And if you walk down the pit lane late at night on a Friday or a Saturday, you see the teams are out there after dark practicing, because they know that the pit stops are absolutely critical.
Yeah, I had a good chat during the break, the couple of hours that we had between the 2 practice sessions, with Adam Conuel, who is one of the technicians at Schubert and works on the pit stops for Schubert Motorsport. Comes from Preston in Lancashire in the UK. He's been part of the DTM setup for a few years now, since 2023. And I said, OK, what are your working hours then as a technician at a DTM team? He said, well, tomorrow morning we'll be here, bearing in mind qualifying starts at 9 o'clock, we'll be here at 7 o'clock, or we'll be here before 7 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, we'll start practicing our pit stops. So 7 a.m. they're starting the pit stops. And what time will you get away? He said, normally we don't get away before 10 o'clock at night. It's a long day for these guys working behind the scenes, isn't it?
Apparently they have to sleep in the gap in the middle as well, but I don't see there's much time for that. That is insane, isn't it? Yeah. I bet they sleep well on a Monday.
Well,
although
the 2 breaks you get are after the last pit stop in the race, because your job is theoretically done then.
Theory,
so you can sit down and watch the rest of the race, which is not very long in race 2, is it, after the pit stops are done? Last 10 minutes of the race, basically. And then when the cars are in park firmer conditions, and that's the only time, really, you can have a slightly more relaxed approach. But otherwise, he said, well, tonight they'll take these cars completely apart. They'll strip them right down and they'll go through them in minute detail, polishing the floor. He said, because you're looking for thousandths of a second, you've got to be so detailed in what you're doing, looking at anything that could be tweaked or adjusted or tightened up or polished to make it a little bit quicker.
Yeah, as Argentini, by the way, goes quickest at 1:20.877, and Weberhaus in second, so 2 Mustangs at the top. But we were saying in the earlier practice session that there is just so much going on for the teams and drivers at the moment, with back-to-back weekends, and of course they're getting ready for the Spa 24-hour race next weekend as well. So there's not even time on a Monday, because you've got to get the cars stripped down, re-prepared, and get everything sorted for that. Just while we were saying that, as I briefly mentioned, Argentini has gone the quickest of the day so far at 1:20.877. So he clearly has not backed off from what he was doing. And Finn Weberhaus in the sister car has gone second. So that's very impressive. 1:20.948. Just 7/100ths slower than Argentini. So once again, the Mustangs looking quick. In third and fourth are a couple of McLarens. Timo Glock in P3, he'd be happy. He'd like, stop the clock now. And Ben Durr in fourth place. So that's very quick as well. And then one of the Lamborghini Temerarios in fifth place with Luca Engstler at the wheel. But Bastian Buus already turning up the wick. He's celebrating his 23rd birthday tomorrow, so what a way it would be to celebrate that if he could get the car in a place where he could potentially get a podium out of the race tomorrow. So Bastian Buus, out along the line he comes. He stops the clock. He was briefly setting a purple, but that's been eclipsed by Ben Durr. Team radio?
3.9 by the fourth. Ben does 21.1.
Yeah, so Timo Glock quicker than his teammate at the moment. Yeah, to be precise, Timo's done a 1:21.019 and a 1:21.069, exactly half a tenth behind for Ben Durr, but maybe not for long, because Ben's done the absolute best middle sector, the lap divided into 3 sectors, so we can track the lap as it goes. And Ben Durr does a 1:20.963 on that lap, his best lap of the session so far. So we only had, in the whole of the first free practice session, 2 drivers that beat the 1:21 bracket. Now we got 4 already, and we're quicker than we were. This equivalent session, free practice 2 a year ago, Jules Gounon did a 1:20.595. Not quite there yet, but it is early days. Right, let's see what Argentini can do. Absolute best first sector, personal best second sector. He's already quickest. Can he go even quicker than the 1:20.877? Yes, he can. 1:20.819 then for Argent. Goes down the gears, down to second, hits that apex at about 90 kilometres an hour, and by the time he gets through the second corner, he'll already, what is that, 2 seconds later, be doing 155 kilometres an hour as Nicky Tim comes through as well. He's had a pretty good start to the session, hasn't he, with 1:21.170. One of our Lambos has gone off the road. Yeah, Luca Engstler, who had a moment, didn't he, in free practice 1, missed the braking point early in the lap and had to go down the escape road. So the car, which has been quick, but which has been a bit hard to handle so far this weekend, gets back on, no harm done, other than the lap is ruined and there's a bit of dust on the tyres. But yeah, Luca Engstler has been quick, but car maybe it's been a handful a couple of times, but much better balance to the car. Now they've been able to adjust the rear wing settings on that Temerario with a special L-shaped bracket that they've put on to increase the amount of degree angle that they can have on the rear wing by 3 degrees, from 5 to 8, special dispensation to do that. And that means more downforce, which means the car is more stable as well, because the back end was a lot looser than the front end on that Temerario, which was a real problem at the Red Bull Ring. Still not perfect though, is it?
No, I think it might be a bit loose on this bit here. So we're riding on board with him prior to the big moment happening. That's a great angle. You see the back end just swapping with the front slightly. Yeah. It was a snap, wasn't it? And he has been consistently the quickest of the Temerarios this year so far. And that little excursion across the gravel probably wouldn't have done any harm, but as you say, that certainly wouldn't have done the tyres any favours. So he's back in now, and I'm just looking, I can see him in the pit lane. The crew have done a tyre change on that car. But again, this is, we've said it before, we did rejoin just in front of the Mercedes, didn't he? But we've said this before, it's the free practice session is where you find the limits, is what Michael Schumacher used to do. You're going to make your mistakes, you're going to find the limits, you're going to do it in free practice. This is where you find out how hard you can push, where the grip is, so that tomorrow morning, when it really counts, you can get the job done. You can see him on the right-hand side of the picture there. The crew are not rushing around too much, so the ABT team just looking at the car, looks like they're going to spin it round and take it back into the garage, probably to extract a load of gravel from it, I should think.
Interesting graphic there. The two Fords fastest through the speed trap. That's not a massive surprise, but the two Ferraris are next up. 242 kilometres an hour through the speed trap for Thierry Vermeulen and Matteo Cairoli, 241 kilometres an hour. We mentioned this in free practice one earlier if you were watching that. But Ferrari, the Evo package, the update, the upgrades that have gone onto that Ferrari 296 this year, one of the key changes is that they deliberately took some downforce off the car. Now, why would you do that? Because it makes the car have less aerodynamic downforce, pushes the car less down onto the ground, so therefore it's not as grippy through especially the high-speed corners, but more downforce. Yes, it's grippy, yes, it's nice through the corners, but it's not as quick in a straight line. And they deliberately wanted to lose some of that downforce to make the car a bit quicker in a straight line. And so interesting that here, a track where it is high speed, the Ferrari is certainly holding its own, isn't it? Third and fourth quickest of those cars. As Kelvin van der Linde goes to the top of the times, just 120.811, 8 thousandths of a second quicker than Argemini, who's now into the pits. Finn Wiebelhaus third in the pits. Ben Durr fourth is in the pits as well. Nicky Timmy is still on track. He's fifth. And then Timo Glock in the pits currently is sixth. Bastian Buß seventh. And Luca Engstler eighth, both in the pits. You're going on ninth. Tom Callender in 10th place. Mercedes have been relatively quiet today, haven't they? Lucas Auer pretty late on in the session put that second fastest time up in free practice one, but they haven't been sort of dominating, that's for sure. You've got a BMW, two Fords, two McLarens, an Aston Martin, a Porsche and a Lamborghini in the top 8 at the moment.
So Kelvin van der Linde is night and day compared to what he was doing in free practice one. He's it was well over a second quicker than he was his quickest time in free practice one, which just goes to show that the times don't always mean a great deal in the early free practice session. So they've clearly decided to give that a real push there. 120.811. His quickest time in FP1 was a 21.878. So strong job there from Kelvin van der Linde, just showing a bit of potential. Personal best in Sector 1 once again. But Mauro Engel is now looking to see what he can do. So personal best in Sector 1, the best of anybody in Sector 2. So Mauro Engel, the next one, to try and see if he can improve on his 18th place. So there he is in the gold and blue Mercedes into the final part of this lap. He's up to turn 11, up to turn 12, going nice and wide, nice and close to the wall. And then it'll be absolute foot to the floor, as hard as it'll go, out across the line he will come. So his best so far has been a 122.255. This is a 120.408, the quickest of anybody today.
Championship leader, top of the times then. Yeah, he absolute best in that middle sector. He was only half a tenth down on the absolute best first sector, and he was only just under a tenth down on the absolute best final sector. So really good all-round lap there as Max Powell goes second quickest on his home circuit, 120.737 in the TGI by GRT Lamborghini Temeraria. That's 0.3 of a second away from the fastest time there. Now, to put that in context, 0.3 of a second off the fastest time this morning put you 10th. And now that's the gap between first and second. So it's super tight this morning. Mirko Bortolotti with a good lap as well goes into 5th place. So these Lamborghini Temerarios, it was all downbeat, wasn't it, after that first weekend at the Red Bull Ring, but it was a big turnaround with that 3rd place in qualifying for Luca Engstler, the 2 top 8 finishes in the races for him, top 10 finishes for Mirko Bortolotti despite the penalties that he picked up for the pit stops, and Marco Beppelli got into the top 10 as well. Improvements all round in qualifying for all 4 drivers of those Temerarios as well. So things looking up and looking up. Some
look at that.
Dark clouds. Is that rain in the background?
Yeah,
as well?
Is rain in the background. Certainly out the front here. I'm looking in the other direction. It's looking slightly hazy. and there's some clouds and things, but this is behind where we are stood at the moment. You can see the rain coming down. That's probably somewhere over Dresden, I should think. But yeah, I don't think it looks like it's going to change in the next 28.5 minutes, but it might.
4:26. Brian says it's not going to rain.
No, he did say that it might not rain. I'm now looking at the corner of the commentary box and it looks black. So it comes in. We had this before, actually, when we've been here at the Lausitzring, where we have boiling hot weather and then the storms come in. I don't know if that's particular to this part of the world or what, but they come in so quickly. And a cloud burst now would certainly upset the apple cart, wouldn't it?
Yeah, of course, as Mirko Bortolotti goes second fastest with another very good lap, 1:20.718. Of course, the teams have very high-spec radars, weather radars, and they know exactly what's coming. And it makes you wonder if they've seen this coming, because it has been a pretty busy start to the session, hasn't it? In terms of drivers really going for quick lap time straight away. Maybe they know that there's a chance that this might be the last dry running you get, because I say it's so humid. There have been, certainly when I was looking at the weather, just before I hopped into the car to go to the airport yesterday, I was like, oh yeah, 30 degrees, 33 degrees, I won't take a coat. And then I looked closer and it said, no, big chance of storms at times over the course of the weekend. I will put my coat in.
Well, I'm just looking at my radar, and Lichter Schacksdorf, apologies to all Germans, it doesn't look at all far from here on the map. I mean, literally just down the road, and there's a thunderstorm going on there at the moment. So I would say, I don't know what direction it's going in. But what I'm saying is it's nearby, lots of thunderstorms. There's also one near Chemnitz at the moment, which I know is not far from here. So yes, I think this could get quite exciting, actually. I retract my statement that it might not rain before the end of this session, because they don't have come in quickly. And yeah, looking at the radar, it's a distinct possibility.
So there you go. We're in that grandstand. That's the commentary box.
We can't see behind
the Lausitzring sign at the top. We're, as you look at it, that picture, we're just to the left of that, just underneath it. So we can't see what you can see from those TV pictures. Well, we can, because we're looking at the same TV pictures as you. But it's behind us.
Yes.
It's behind you.
It's behind you.
So that's where the black clouds are coming from. And now, I'm no scientist, but the windmill blades are blowing this way, aren't they?
You're using all the lingo now.
The blades are blowing this way, so that weather's coming this way, I reckon. And you can see there's definitely rain coming down, I don't know, what's that, about 10 kilometres away?
Yeah, I would say less than that, looking at the... I need someone with a bit of local geographical knowledge to tell me how far away these places are. But on my app, it looks very close. So, and it actually says storms, risk of storms from 4:15 local time, which was actually a quarter of an hour ago. So... yeah, so in conclusion, it might rain.
It might rain. And that is why Brian and Chris do not work on the weather forecast.
I tell you what, I'm pleased it's not America, because if it was, we'd be evacuating the grandstands by now. So, be thankful that in Germany we don't have those rules. So, yes. No World Cup nonsense here.
Right, Luki Auer and Maro Engel running through shots.
There we go. Yeah, not weather, not football. Right, Engel.
We talk about the amount of bad luck that Luki Auer has had at times over the years, and including, of course, by, 3 corners of a season, 3 corners missing out on the championship title last year. And by bad luck, by reliability issue, missing out on winning the Nürburgring 24 hours with Maro Engel and Max Verstappen a few weeks ago. But he finally had something go his way, didn't he, at the GT World Challenge at Monza, because there was an almighty crash on the final lap of the race. Guess where? Yeah, the first chicane at Monza. And the team had struggled a bit with their pit stops. They dropped down the order. They got themselves back into a good position. And he had a car which was completely out of control right at the end of the race, that had been hit going into the chicane, literally took out the Mercedes that was in front of him and went within centimetres of the front of Lucas' car. So Lucas Auer, just by, I don't know, it's about 5 centimetres almost got took out of the race. But the onboard, if you get a chance to see it, the onboard from Lukey's car in that race, this car just comes from nowhere across the front of him, having been hit into the chicane. And yeah, just, I mean, he couldn't have timed it better to just miss it and get through. So maybe that was a change in the fortunes for Lukey Auer.
When he closes his eyes at night, he can still see it coming across in front of him. I tell you, was unlucky there. That was Arjun Maini, who had such a good qualifying, and then the front of the car was somewhere in downtown Monza after that. I think it was
very
really, really bad luck for him.
Here we go then. Lukey, who loves this place, knows it like the back of his hand. Well, I don't know if he loves it, but he's always mega around here. Goes second quickest by just 0.02 of a second. Maro Engel, because he drives with, and 2 years ago won the GT World Challenge Endurance title with, but races against, of course, in DTM, albeit they're brand mates, so running in different garages. 0.02 of a second between them. And they've been the class acts of the season so far, haven't they? Although Lukey hasn't got a win yet, he had 3 podiums, straight podiums at the start of the season. Maro has had the podium, the win, the championship lead, a pole position. And they both really have picked up where they left off in 2025, showing that they weren't in any way downbeat about just missing out on the title. He's going to get very wet in a moment.
Yeah, don't sit there, mate. Yes, yeah, rain bathing.
Certificate 18 this show.
Yeah,
nudity that we've got going on.
No. So, yeah, no, the thing I would say about that, and we've said it earlier on as well, is the thing that Maro Engel and Lucas Auer have in common is that they're in the same car, in the same team, and consistency from last year and from years prior to that means something, and they're very comfortable in that team. They know their engineers, they know the crew, they know the car, the crew know the car, the drivers know the car, the drivers know the crew, all of that, and that consistency is really important. Is worth something. And drivers who are bedding in new cars, and we've seen it with the Temerario and changing teams, they're kind of a little bit on the back foot. But having said that, Mirko Bortolotti was in P2 for a while. He's third at the moment, 0.3 down. But yeah, that consistency, Maro Engel, Lucas Auer, both of them look confident, look comfortable, don't they?
They actually switched, didn't they? Because the first season at Landgraf, racing the DTM was 2023. They had a year off in 2024, but they raced in 2023. That Maro drove for them then, got a win with the team at Zandvoort that season. And Lukey had been with Winwood for a few years, stayed with Winwood in 2024, and Maro came to Winwood as well. And then last year, 2025, it went the other way. It was Lukey Auer that went to Landgraf when they came back into the championship last year. But he was beaming, wasn't he? Like, he immediately said, I just feel comfortable with this team. We get on, we enjoy ourselves. And you can see that very much with Lukey. He's always got a smile on his face, no matter what's thrown at him. And I think it's really important for Lukey to have that sort of feeling of being at home with the team. And he said it himself, you know, it's important to try and enjoy this if you can, and it makes it perform. It doesn't mean you're any less competitive. In fact, it might make you more competitive because you're a bit more relaxed around it all, what you were saying. And yeah, I absolutely wasn't surprised at all to learn that he was going to stay with Landgraf this year. Of course, they very, very, very nearly won the title together last year, so it's a good combination. They're both in great places, I think. And of course, although Lukey did go off and become a BMW factory driver, didn't he, for a couple of years in the Class 1 era of DTM, but really for the bulk of their careers, and certainly for all of Maro's car racing career, he's been a Mercedes man, hasn't he? It was that chance to come a race in DTM that really saved his career, because he was trying to go down the single-seater route. He hadn't really got the funds, the money, the backing to make it. He'd raced in British F3 and had a good season after some difficult times in European racing, and finished second in the championship. But got the chance to come to a shootout, won the shootout, and the rest is history. He switched from single-seaters to become a factory driver. Otherwise, he might have gone by the wayside, because he did actually drop out of racing for a time because he didn't have the funding when he was younger to do it. And you might never have seen a Maro Engel had he not got this chance.
Well, I have to say, single-seater's loss is most definitely our gain. I mean, what a legend he is becoming, winning the big titles, and of course, the big one in DTM has still eluded him thus far, but there is a sense of unfinished business, both with Maro Engel and Lucas Auer. That's a wild ride from Jules Gounon in the yellow Mamba. So yes, that was a fairly wide, flashing the lights at somebody. I think just maybe in frustration, but he's pushing somewhat, isn't he?
Yes, it's nothing better than watching Jules Gounon on a charge. He's gone third quickest on the previous lap.
Yes.
So he is pushing. You're right, a 1:20.710. Do you notice the moment I said the Mercedes, apart from that last lap of Luke Guillaume in free practice 1, had been a bit quiet? The moment I said that, now they're the fastest 3, aren't they? Engel, Auer and Gounon. So ignore me. Here we go, Jules Gounon. Probably won't be as quick this lap because that was a little bit wild, wasn't it, in the middle of the lap. Through he comes, over the line, 1:21.130. It's not a terrible lap, but yes, not quite as good for Jules, who incidentally, that's a brand new chassis for this year, he was telling me. I asked him at Zandvoort because he switched chassis halfway through last year, if you remember. He wasn't particularly happy with the car the first half of the season, even though he had some good results. It was much happier when they switched the chassis halfway through the season. I think it was Sachsenring when he got the new chassis just over halfway into the season. But he's got a brand new one for this year. And the problem hasn't been the speed. He's been quick. It's just been the luck hasn't quite been there for him this year because he was just missing out on Nürburgring title as well. But that is going to turn, and he can't keep a good man down, and he is going to get back on that podium. And we're both convinced he's going to be a race winner this year, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, every year, the last 2 years, I've said, well, he's a real contender for the championship. He certainly tested that chassis at Zandvoort, didn't he? That wild ride. I think he got it airborne for a little bit, through a billboard. And I think Jules Gounon showed what he's truly made of, because even though he was on the grass and was travelling through the billboard and opposite lock, I don't think he lifted off for 1 second. That's a real racing driver, that is.
As I would expect and hope.
Yes,
keep it going.
See the whites of his eyes. Yes. Right, well, we're looking down at one of the Temerarios coming out along the pit straight at the moment.
Yeah, Max Paul.
And it's Max Paul. Yeah, local driver, just down the road in Dresden, as we may have mentioned already. And certainly a real contender here. All of a sudden, they've found something, and we've seen and heard about all the changes with the Temerario, and clearly relishing this opportunity. He's in 5th place at the moment, P5, with a 1:20.737.
Yeah, going well, knows this track well. As you say, Dresden, not too far away. It's unusual, actually. Every time in the previous years I've come to any DTM circuit and walked in a garage that has Max Paul involved, Paul Motorsport, all the other drivers might go off to team briefings and take a break away from the garage. He's always been in the garage because he's always been also basically running the team, hasn't he, with Paul Motorsport, the family-run team, and working on the car, working on the truck drive, setting the awning up, setting the garage up, doing everything basically. But now he's a factory driver. He can concentrate on what he's meant to be doing, which is the race driving. And yeah, it's a great opportunity for Max this year. I'm really pleased he's had the chance to do it because, you know, we've seen how good he can be before. You know, he's won a DTM race. What was it, from 13th on the grid at the Nürburgring in the rain when he had a couple of guest appearances for the team he's now with Grasser. So it's great that they've given him the chance, and we can see what he can really do. Because it was difficult to begin with at the Red Bull Ring, but now things are going the right way with that Temerario. Then I think we're going to see much more from Max Paul because he's a really talented driver. He's a bit deep on the brakes there, but he just about makes the apex.
Exploring the outer limits of Turn 1. It's been great to see Max Paul come through. I remember him. We're looking again at those ominous skies. I remember Max in ADAC Formula 4 Germany quite a few years ago, and then he stepped up, and we saw him in GT Masters, but never really had the team behind him to get to that final bit. And as you say, I think with Grasser, well, we saw him doing that appearance at the Nürburgring that time where he took that win, but he really does have the team, and I'm hoping now the car underneath him to start to really challenge for some podiums, and we would love to see that. He's someone who's been so committed to everything the ADAC has been behind for so many years, and it would be just so good to see him up there. Yeah,
well, I spoke to him last year. He reckoned Paul Motorsport were running on about a quarter of the budget of some of the big teams. So yeah, just to be on the grid, and you know, got on the podium, didn't they, at Zandvoort? It was a fantastic achievement from them last year, and you know, regular points finishers. It was a great opportunity, but to take the next step really for Max, and he had to have this move and this opportunity to come through in that Temerario. Tom Callender, driver who, like Max Paul, came up through GT Masters racing, and Tom, of course, won that championship a couple of years ago. Youngest driver to do so, youngest driver to come into DTM, and ended last season with a top 5 finish at Hockenheim. Bettered that at the Red Bull Ring, got a top 4 finish there. So it'd be good to see how Tom goes now. Really starting to find his feet in this championship. One of the young, upcoming, kind of next generational drivers. You've got him, you've got Finn Wiebelhaus, you've got Ben Durr, I would say. He's already starting to mix it with the establishment. Luca Engster, still a pretty young driver, coming in as well. So it's good to see these younger drivers coming in. And Ben Durr is going third quickest, 1:20.633 seconds. That puts him just over a quarter of a second away from Maro Engel's top time of the session so far.
Yeah, it's good to see these young drivers coming through the ranks, challenging some of the old guard, and Tom Callender, one of those. Of course, he was just one place away from his first podium at the Red Bull Ring, the season opener. Another of the young drivers, Thierry Vermeulen, and of course, part of the Verstappen.com team, get some great wisdom and great guidance from Jos and Max Verstappen. And Thierry, another driver that well, in a fair world, would probably have taken a win by now, but surely that first win cannot be too far away. He got that podium at Zandvoort, which would have been a fairly emotional experience, I think, but still looking for that first win in the Emerald Fry Racing Ferrari.
Yeah, I had a good chat with Marco Schutbach after free practice one. He's now stepped up to be the team manager at Emil Fry and was the race engineer for Jack Aitken. So he's taken over team manager duties. And we spoke about Thierry, and I said, we think he's going to win a race this year in the commentary box. And he said, yeah, absolutely. He said, really, he already did, because it was only because we messed his pit stop up at Sachsenring a couple of years ago. Otherwise, he would have won a race already by now. So they absolutely agree that he's going to be up there. They felt a bit sorry for him that he didn't get didn't get a win last time out at Zandvoort, because he got himself onto pole position again. I'm sorry, to the front row of the grid again, Matteo Corolli. And he locked out the front row of the grid. Matteo did a fantastic job, won the race. But yeah, Thierry, because would have loved to win at his home track, but it was his first Zandvoort podium in DTM, his 5th career podium. And a great job done by him. Nicola Bart trying to stay out of the way in the luminous yellow Aston Martin. And there is your championship leader, Maro Engel, still on track. He's had a pretty long run at this, actually. And he's lapping in the sort of low 121s already. So doing a longer run, trying to set the car up, set the tyres up, work it out for a longer distance when we get to the races tomorrow and on Sunday. It's not just about setting quick lap times. Yes, you've got to be up there in qualifying, but you've got to stay up there in the races, of course, as well. And Brian, this is, it's not a track where you cannot overtake. You absolutely can overtake around the Lausitzring. So perhaps qualifying isn't quite as key as it was maybe at Zandvoort.
Yeah, and you can see why you can overtake. Look how wide that pit straight is. I reckon you could get 7 alongside each other there. But as I mentioned earlier, that little downhill left-hander into turn 1 is as tricky as you like. And 2 abreast is about as good as it gets. But you can get a real slipstream out along the pits here, I'm told, as well. So there's some aerodynamic advantage to be had. But on the subject of Maro Engel, he's always been quick. He's always been good. He's always been a contender. But it does feel like he's really stepped up a gear this year. And I don't know whether a driver steps up a gear or whether just things fall into place. But he's just looking calm and confident. And I don't remember, in all the years that I've been watching him, I don't remember a time when he's been consistently always somewhere near the front, literally every time. Yeah. And with Nürburgring 24 behind him as well, and he's just brimming with confidence at the moment. Yeah. And isn't it just funny how it goes like that you just see a driver that's been maybe doing this for many seasons, and suddenly you look at them and go, well, I don't see anything that's changed, but they are just suddenly there. Driving better than ever, isn't he? And it's a high bar. It was already a very, very high bar. Remember, this guy's a 4-time GT World Cup champion at Macau. You don't win that if you're not a good driver. He's a really good driver. But yeah, fantastic to see. He's always had the consistency, and we've said this before. If you add the points up for all the drivers in 2024 and 2025, those 2 years, he scored more points than anybody. He didn't win the title in either year. It was 3rd in both years, but he was so consistent. But he hadn't got the wins, had he? And he's only at 3 wins now in the DTM. But he's already got one this year, so he's chipped that away. And you don't need to win loads of races. I know last year, Aingen Nguyen ended up winning 5 races. But normally, the champion, kind of 3 or 4 wins maximum. That probably does it for you, doesn't it? And you don't even have to necessarily do that if you keep getting the points for finishing on the podium. And he's certainly been doing that this year. So, yeah, great start. Best start he's had, and brimming with confidence. And there he goes. He has never won at Lausitzring in DTM, but he has a 2nd place finish last year.
and a 5th place finish last year. So it's a pretty good spot for him. It's pretty rare you get to win both races on the DTM race
Yes.
weekend. It's just the way it works. Success ballast, of course. We'll come into it, and our top 3 finishes from race 2 last time out. Remember, Kelvin van der Linde won race 2 at Zandvoort. Well, not in qualifying, but in the race, they're going to have success ballast on the car. So Kelvin's going to have to lug around 20 kilograms of success ballast for that win. Then you get changes of BOP. Then it's so competitive. You know, you can miss out by a fraction in qualifying and end up 14th on the grid. So it's really hard to have 2 really good days, and that's reflected here really in the 5 seasons that we've had here of GT racing in DTM. We've had 10 races, we've had 8 different winners. There's only Sheldon van der Linde that took a double win in 2022, and Jack Aitken, who got a win in 2023 and a win last year. They're the only drivers that have had more than 1 win here in the whole of the GT3 era since they've become into the Lausitzring.
So the drivers who do carry the success ballast, I guess, well, I don't guess, we know that it's when they are carrying that success ballast, it's just maximising what's available on that day. For Mauro Engel, going back to him, when 6th place is your worst day of the season so far, you know you're doing quite well. But to remind you, his 6th place at Zandvoort Race 1 was, one of the reasons would have been because he was lugging around the success ballast from having won at the Red Bull Ring the previous race.
Yeah, it was a point he made to me. The only reason he didn't win race 1 because they had a sticking wheel gun in his pit stop in race 1 at Red Bull Ring. So he finished 3rd. He definitely would have won that race otherwise, because the amount of time he lost, it was about 5 or 6 seconds he lost with that, wasn't it? But he said, yeah, but then I wouldn't have won race 2 probably, because I would have had more success ballast on the car. I would have had 20 kilograms rather than 5. So yeah, I always think if you win or get on a podium on Saturday, if you can get a top 6 finish on Sunday, if you a podium and a top 6, you've had a really good weekend in DTM.
Yeah, that's a win really, isn't it? Absolutely. It's either when you've got the success ballast and you're having what would be classed as a mediocre day, if you can get a decent haul of points out of that, then you're going to be there at the end of the season as well, aren't you?
Absolutely right. Here's Nicola Bart, who's one of the drivers fighting for this year's Rookie of the Year championship. Was in it last year. Slightly different rules with the way it works. It's not necessarily based on whether you've been in DTM before. It's about how much experience of GT cars you've got. So we've got Finn Biebelhaus, obviously as a rookie anyway. Nicola Bart in his 2nd season. Tom Callender in his 2nd season. They're the 3 drivers fighting for the Rookie of the Year title. You're on board now with Arjun Maini, fastest in the test a couple of weeks ago here, fastest in free practice 1, currently 4th quickest, but he's just improved on his previous lap, and this one looks even quicker for Arjun. We're right on board with him now then. The number 36 HRT Ford racing car down the gears in this final sector now, about to make his way into the final turn at turn 12. Comes out of that tight left-hander into turn 12 now. Takes the low line. It's not super banked here. It's not super steep, but there is that camber, and it sucks them out towards the wall as they come out through the turn. He goes over the line at 120.487. That's even quicker. So up to 3rd place now. So that puts him to within 79 thousandths of a second of the fastest time of Mauro Engel.
You know, with the cloud cover coming in, and you can see it on your pictures, it's gone very hazy. I wonder whether the track conditions will cool slightly, and whether that might change certainly change the handling and change what kind of times we're going to get. Kind of feels quite ideal at the moment. I think with 6.25 minutes remaining, we might just get this session done before the heavens open, because it has got very dark on the horizon, but it feels like the air temperature is dropping slightly. And that may well affect handling and grip levels. So at the moment, no issues at all, as we're looking at Finn Biebelhaus just hustling it across the curbs as well. He's in 12th at the moment. He's done personal bests in Sector 1 and Sector 2 on the previous lap.
A reminder that this guy was racing karts 5 years ago, and now he's in the DTM at the top level of GT3 racing. It's an inspiration to all young racers, all young karters. You can do it. It can be achieved. You can become a professional racing driver at the top level. It's great to see. He won the South Germany ADAC Kart Cup in 2021. He got himself on the front row of the grid at Red Bull Ring in qualifying in the DTM 5 years later in 2026. Really impressive, because as I mentioned, won the GT Masters Championship. But he started, as most young drivers do, down the single-seater career path, hadn't he? French Formula 4. But you need so much backing, so much money in all forms of motorsport, but particularly single-seaters, if you want to try and make it down that route to FIA Formula 3, Formula 2, maybe Formula 1. And it was Manuel Reuter, wasn't it, who said to the family, I think you need to change your plan because he's really good, but I'm not sure you're going to have the backing to be able to go down the single-seater route. He can make a career out of this. He could do great things. Come and do GT racing. Go down that route, and it's worked out brilliantly.
It really has. It was interesting because we used to have, of course, the ADAC Formula 4 Germany, and for various reasons that series stopped. And instead, the ADAC put a team of young drivers into the French Formula 4. They put 3 drivers in that particular year. Those 3 drivers were Finn Wiebelhaus, Tom Callender and Max Rice. And all 3 of them now making their names in GT3 racing. Of course, Tom Callender and Finn Wiebelhaus here in DTM, Max Rice in GT Masters, and certainly with aspirations to be on the DTM field as well. But those 3 drivers that were spotted by the ADAC Sport Foundation were put into the ADAC team in the French Formula 4, and all 3 of them have gone on to great things. And I think that's a real testament to what the ADAC are doing as well in terms of encouraging young drivers. And it's not necessarily ultimately the single-seater route, but, you know, because the question always is, in Germany, where is the next big driver coming from? Well, the ADAC are doing their bit to try and find that next driver.
Yeah, absolutely right. And here he comes. Oh, look, Thomas Preining, personal best, first sector, personal best, second sector. Now, Thomas has got a new race engineer, hasn't he, for the rest of the season? Kai Sterling, his long-time race engineer. They worked together to win the 2023 title. Has moved on from the team. It's been a rumour that might happen for a while. So Zandvoort turned out was Kai's last time as the race engineer with Manthey. And so who has now stepped in? The team boss, the team manager, Patrick Arkenau, is now going to be the engineer for this man, Thomas Preining, who you ride on board with. But he's in good hands here because before he became team manager, he was a race engineer and widely regarded as one of the best in the business in the DTM paddock, Patrick Arkenau. So I don't think there's any worries for Thomas Preining that he's not going to be in good hands here with Patrick on the radio and helping guide him through the races.
Yeah, and it's all about the relationship with that engineer, isn't it? I know with Kai Sterling, Thomas said that he used to speak to him more than he did his family. Yeah. They'd phone each other on Christmas Day and talk strategy. And he said we were like a married couple. And that's the relationship you need with your engineer, to understand each other and to look for those little extras. And certainly that's an example of that.
Yeah. And just to say, the reason Kai has left the team is nothing to do with a fallout with the team or anything like that. He's got a great opportunity to further his career now, because he's going on to a higher management level with ex-DTM team SSR Performance, who of course lost Mario Schubauer. Now, they're not really involved in a racing program, and certainly not in DTM at the moment. It's more to do with the customer side of the business there that he's looking at the moment. But it has sparked some questions of, well, maybe that team might come back and join us on the grid at some point in the future, SSR Performance.
Wouldn't we love that? It's certainly a question that has been asked. We would love to see SSR back on the grid, wouldn't we?
Clearly, Kai just likes working with luminous yellow cars, doesn't it? Because SSR Performance used to have quite a bright colour scheme, didn't they? With their Lamborghinis, with Mirko Bortolotti, of course, winning the Drivers' Championship with the team in 2024. Mario Schubauer now, these days, for this year, has stepped into the role of team manager at Come To You Racing with Nicky Thiem and Nicola Bart running the Aston Martins. It's definitely got darker overhead, hasn't it? But the session's almost done. I think that rain, look out the window. We look over the other side of the tri-oval. It's raining, but I think it's just skirted around us, doesn't it?
At the moment, yes, certainly the sky looks smudged directly in front of our commentary box as the rain is coming down, I think, as you say, in front and behind.
Preining quickest in Sector 1. What's he going to do then?
He's going to demoralise everybody on a Friday night. That's what he's going to do, isn't it?
Well, it was in the last minute, wasn't it, in free practice 1 that we had 3 changes at the top of the times. Mauro Angel's not going to improve, nor is Arjamani. They're both in the pits. Luki Auri's out there, but no, he's not going too badly through the first sector. What's this? Ricardo Fella going on the grass? Yes, but it's all right. You've got to find the limits, haven't you, Ricardo?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's what it's all about in free practice. Right, now we know that's how far I can push into that corner. So Ricardo Fella at the moment in 16th. But again, we look at the times, 120.408 for Mauro Engel. But a lot of the teams getting a setup, just finding out where the limits are. So the times are a guideline, but they're not the absolute before we get into quali tomorrow?
Preining fully backed off in that last sector. It was a 36. It should be a 32. Yeah, the lap wasn't a flyer. In the end, that last complete lap that he set, he said, making his way as the flag is out now into turn 6. Matteo Caroli behind him. So this is where they turn back off the tri-oval for a second time. Slightly downhill there as well. It sort of flattens it out on TV pictures, but it's not quite as flat as it looks on TV, this circuit. It's certainly not huge undulations, but there are one or two sections where it goes gently up and gently down the level of the ground, the level of the circuit. Preining running through shot. Into that corner, he's pulled off a couple of banzai moves in the past as well, so watch out for that tomorrow. The signature Thomas Preining dummy to the one side and then dive down the opposite side, a move which is kind of his trademark, isn't it? I call it the Nigel Mansell move, because it always reminds me of that move that Mansell pulled off at the British Grand Prix in '87 against Piquet, where he went one way, then he went the other, then he went the other way, then he finally flung it down the inside on the grass. And that's the Thomas Preining move, just pulling something out of nowhere on corners you're not really meant to be overtake on. Flag is out then. Preining doesn't improve at the end of the session, but pretty happy with that, I think, with 4th place overall. 0.2 of a second off the top time, but the top time, Brian is going to go to the man of the moment, the top man so far in 2026, Maro Engel.
Yeah, once again, just looking solid, looking confident, and just a little flash there of what we might see when we get to quali tomorrow. So that concludes all of the free practice sessions. So all that's left this weekend now is 2 quali sessions and 2 races. So this is where it's really going to start to matter.
And as Brian fully confidently predicted half an hour ago, it never rained.
Yeah, I
rained.
I was right. Yeah.
But Maro Engel, yes, he was fastest, but by how much? Hardly anything.
Yeah.
0.02 of a second. Luke Yauer, second quickest in both sessions. He was 0.06 of a second off the top time earlier today. He's 0.02 off the top time in free practice too. He's absolute one to watch this weekend as well. Arjan Marnie was 3rd, Thomas Preining 4th, Ben Durr in 5th. He's a regular now, isn't he, in the top 6, Ben. Finn Wiebelhaus 6th, Jorgun on 7th, Mirko Bortolotti 8th, Max Powell in 9th. We're pretty happy with that as well. Nicky Tim in the top 10. And then Calvin van der Linde and Marco Wittmann in the BMWs, only 13th and 21st, but it is only free practice. We'll see what really happens tomorrow morning when we get qualifying underway. That qualifying session is an early start tomorrow, local time 9 o'clock. We'll be on air around about 5 minutes before that to give you the build-up to 20 minutes of qualifying. 3 points, 3 championship points up for grabs, and all these points you can pick up in qualifying, 3, 2 and 1 for the fastest 3. They really do add up at the end of the season. We've seen drivers amassing enough points that it's kind of the equivalent of a 4th place finish at the end of the season. So really important, not just for grid position, but also for those points. You can see the bus is heading out to the... We've got the track safari after this. So the DTM drivers will stay in the cars because they will go out on track now with these 2 buses, which are full of paying guests, or 3 buses, who get the chance to be on the track whilst DTM cars are tazzing around either side of them at about 250 kilometres an hour. What an experience that must be.
Insane. Talk about getting you into the middle of the action. What a great thing to do. I'm trying to look in to see who the guides are. They normally get drivers from other series to do the stuff on the mic in the coach, talking and guiding around. It's always interesting to see who they got. I think Finn Zulaf was one of them one year, Mike David Ortman. But anyway, I think that's it from DTM Free Practice 2. We'll see you tomorrow.